all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning to everyone tuning in. I am Hormuz Fatakia, back after a holiday to tell you all that you need to know on the 12th of March, which is the final trading day of the week. First up, a stricter lockdown will be enforced in Nagpur from the 15th to the 21st of this month as the number of coronavirus cases continue to rise across the state. Private offices will remain closed during the lockdown, while government offices will operate at 25% capacity. On the virus front, while Mumbai reported over 1,500 cases as of 6 p.m. on Thursday, India reported over 20,000 cases for the first time in nearly 3 months, with Maharashtra accounting for nearly 60% of them. In other news, Bharat Biotech's Covaxin is no longer in the clinical trial mode, with the government granting it regular restricted emergency use authorization like Covishield. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has formed a group of experts to examine the feasibility of introducing special purpose acquisition companies or SPAC-like structures in India, as per a PTI report. The group, formed under SEBI's Primary Market Advisory Committee, has been asked to submit its report at the earliest, according to sources. The former promoter of Bhushan Power and Steel, Sanjay Singhal, has requested the Supreme Court to order a stay on the implementation of JSW Steel's winning plan for the insolvent steelmaker. In a new application, Singhal says that there will be severe prejudice to his appeal challenging the approval of the plan by the Company Law Tribunal and the Appellate Tribunal. The date at which the application will be heard is not yet known. Samir Arora's Helios Capital Management and Alchemy Capital Management, co-founded by Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, have applied for mutual fund licenses with the market regulator. This is according to the latest status report uploaded by SEBI on its website. Besides these two, applications from Bajaj Finserv, Capital Mind, Frontline Capital Services and Zerodha are also pending with SEBI. The Reserve Bank of India has said that IDBI Bank will be allowed to exit the prompt corrective action framework after nearly 4 years, subject to certain conditions and continuous monitoring. The RBI said that the bank has given a written commitment that it will comply with norms of minimum regulatory capital, net NPAs and leverage ratios on an ongoing basis. The lender has met 3 out of the 4 conditions required to exit the PCA framework, with its leverage ratio still being higher than the RBI requirement of 4% at the end of the December quarter. BNP Paribas is looking to sell 3.5 crore shares of SBI Life Insurance through an accelerated placement, according to the term sheet accessed by Bloomberg. There will be also an option to increase the deal size by another 1.5 crore shares. The shares are being offered between 870 to 917 rupees apiece, which is a 2.5 to 7.5% discount to Wednesday's closing price. As per the December quarter shareholding pattern, BNP Paribas held 5.2% stake in SBI Life. Prestige Estates has completed the first phase of the transaction it had undertaken with the Blackstone Group. The first phase involved the sale of 12 retail, office and hotel assets. The enterprise value of this phase of the transaction is over 7,450 crore rupees, and post this transaction, the company has managed to reduce its net debt by close to 4,600 crore rupees. It expects the second phase of the transaction to be completed by the end of the next quarter. Mahindra & Mahindra is looking to introduce battery-powered variants of all of its SUVs, and that is a Bloomberg Quint exclusive. In an internal note reviewed by Bloomberg Quint, the XUV 500 maker said that it has a two-pronged strategy to strengthen its position in the EV market. The company will be setting up 2 new verticals, which are last-mile mobility and an electric vehicle tech center. In an emailed response to Bloomberg Quint, the company has confirmed the move to set up the 2 verticals. From the IPO space, the issue of Easy Trip Planners became the second most subscribed IPO of 2021. Overall subscriptions stood at 160 times, with interest led by non-institutional investors. The non-institutional investor portion was subscribed over 380 times, while the institutional portion saw demand for 78 times the shares on offer. The retail portion too saw subscription of over 70 times. US President Joe Biden on Thursday signed the $1.9 trillion pandemic relief bill into a law, marking his first major legislative achievement. White House press secretary said that the Americans will begin to see direct payments courtesy this legislation as early as the weekend. Oil prices are flat this morning after a surge of over 2.5% overnight. Prices are being supported by a rise in fuel consumption as well as the signing of the pandemic relief program. OPEC, meanwhile, has sounded a cautious tone on the demand outlook on Thursday, cutting estimates by 70,000 barrels per day for the second quarter. With that, I head over to Neeraj Shah for the trade setup for the day. Morning, Neeraj. Although we ended higher for the third day in a row on Wednesday, there is still some skepticism around the 15,200 mark for the Nifty, isn't it?
Well, yes, Hormuz, you could argue that there is some skepticism, but maybe the global markets might help us overcome the skepticism today. Now, first, the big news yesterday was that the European Central Bank said it expects to increase its bond purchases significantly next quarter, pointing towards readiness to ramp up bond buying to tackle surging yields. It also opted to leave its Pandemic Emergency Purchase Program, or PEPP as it is known, unchanged at about 1.85 trillion euros, which is due to last until March 2022. Hence, we can safely say that there is coordinated action amongst all the powerful central banks in the world. Now, on the back of US President Joe Biden signing the $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package that Hormuz spoke about, as Washington moves to send fresh aid this month itself, the S&P 500 notched up record highs, and the futures as we speak are in the green. The last 2 days, while we were shut, of course, yesterday, have seen some serious global activity, and in India should be benefiting from that today. So maybe, just maybe, we won't have a freaky Friday like the last few, and we'll end the week on a high. Asia is in fine fettle, so that should help too. I think commodities were the flavor of trade yesterday, with most base metals rising a few percentage points, and therefore one should expect that the commodity-linked stocks would be in focus. I would naturally watch out for banking, because banking would continue to do well if FIs continue to pour in money. Day before yesterday wasn't the biggest day from a FI activity perspective, but with the global markets looking okay, you never know, today could be different. I would also watch out for all PSUs, considering that BPCL and GAIL are due to meet for large dividends, and NMDC has already announced a decent dividend of over 7 rupees. I would expect some of the dividend yield hunting investors could also look for these companies. Lastly, watch out for IPOs. There's a flurry of them hitting the markets the next few days. I think Anupam Rasayan starting today, and next week we'll see Lakshmi Organics and Nazara amongst others. Invest well. Wishing Team India all the best in the T20 starting today. But more importantly, with the number of coronavirus cases crossing the 20,000 mark and Nagpur in a serious lockdown, we need to realize that the situation is grim even if the vaccination is underway. So please stay safe, please wear your masks, and have a great weekend. Thanks so much everybody for tuning in.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Pesa Vesa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.